when I was approached to do the project, I was just so excited that, I mean, the phrase that this is the largest anti-racism media campaign just got all sorts of ideas going in my head about what was possible and what could be done. And on the one hand, I mean, there are so many possibilities about how you can represent this issue, and to my mind, I just thought it might be quite powerful to ask people to listen to the experience of one person. I'd heard about Walter by reputation because I was out east and working on another project, and many people brought up his name just as a man who's kind of been around the East Coast, and he's kind of a keeper of the history. He's very open to sharing his experiences with people so that they might, learn from his experiences. And I knew that about him just, by his reputation. So I called him up on the phone. I'd never met him. He didn't know who I was, and I just asked within the first 3 minutes of the conversation. I told him a bit about the anti-racism project and asked him if he would be the subject for this piece, and he said yes, without hesitation. Africville is a community that was established in the 1800s, and it was settled by expatriate slaves, runaway slaves, freed slaves that just couldn't make their way in the northern states around the time of abolitionism. And so they went up to Canada, up to Nova Scotia. Then in 1969, Africville for many years, I mean, it was part of Halifax, but it was kind of like the ghetto of Halifax. And there was no kind of electricity, running water, all sorts of things. So in the name of urban renewal in 1969, the municipal government of Halifax decided they were going to relocate this community, that Africville and all its history, its church, its homes, people's homes were to be bulldozed. And everybody had to go move up these projects up the hill. But as a black person, as a Canadian, I was always struck by the fact that I had heard about this, and I don't know where, but it wasn't in school, and to know that there was this community of Canadians, black Canadians, that had lived and settled here, and I knew nothing about it. It really unsettled me in a lot of ways. I can recall a number of experiences, and I think the things that came to mind most strongly when I was approached about the project were things such as sitting in a classroom and being the only black student, and when the issue of racism would come up, it was always in a kind of double-edged manner, because when we would talk about racism, it was a bunch of people who were referring to this experience, and we would, for example, like reading Huck Finn, and the character of Jim. And so we'd be having this conversation about the literature and Mark Twain, and whenever there was a discussion about Jim, it would always be, nigger this, nigger that, and oh, isn't racism horrible? And yes, Jim was, they would point out all his flaws and speak about the stereotypes in such a frank manner. And in some way, being the only black person in that classroom, somehow I felt that the highlighting of all the negative elements that were suffered by characters like Jim were somehow pointed towards me. It's like you should be able to identify with, yes, being called this horrible name or word, or identify with people identifying your attributes as derogatory or not worthwhile. And that was my classroom experience, is always talking about the negative aspects of being black and how difficult it was. I never in school had an experience of talking about the enriching elements of being black and that cultural experience. Or there's that phrase that I don't see race, or to be colorblind is a really great thing. And I think that's kind of missing the point. You should see someone's color, and you should see the positive aspects of someone being different from you, because you have something to learn from them. I think if we can take that away, then, as Walter says, we can go anywhere,